Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first episode. In this documentary, we're going to be talking about psych be talking about psychology, especially in psychopaths. So, why did I choose to speak of psychopaths? So, here in Mexico, normally the higher society, I mean, like the economical higher society, normally has empowered this manipulative and threaten people in the power. So I also have, in my short 15 years old, I have sadly been in contact with many psychopaths in my life, but only when I just started to investigate, that's when I knew that I was dealing with psychopaths. So first, I'd like to I will answer some questions that I think that are the most asked by many people. And I also like to remember everyone that there are many types of psychopathy, especially I'm not meaning about the ones that are, I don't know, like Jeffrey Dahmer or the like the ones that you normally know, like serial killers, or probably just like those cases that you see YouTube or Netflix. Now I'm talking about the mentally abusive ones that a normal person without knowledge wouldn't even notice that they're dealing with a psychopath, and they think they're just dealing with a bad person, or they just have some like mental problems, or just they act that way because they were educated that way. So no, first I'd like to introduce that, and first I would like to describe this type of psychopathy, to have a better context and for you to understand the importance of being aware and being to have this knowledge, and to be more careful with the people you have relationships with, and to know that words and manipulations and contact with people that you shouldn't could really ruin your life and your mental stability. So first, here let's so in psychology we know them as the fearless sorry about the the boy. We call it that way because it's a normal person. It's the one that has like these like social skills, these manipulative skills. It's kind of like the person that you know, and by the first instance you love them. Like he's very well, they are very funny, very charismatic, they have a good conversation. They are usually really loved by first sight, but that's just a manipulative way to get into your mind and to get that trust for that person. So I'd like uh, to explain a little bit this more with a definition by a psychologist. And this documentary, and sorry, and this information was done by Harvard, and just to know like what we're dealing with. First of all, these type of persons, okay, but what about the ones that are looking for something even more cruel and mental abuse? The most difficult type of psychopathy to detect is the one that we all met, the person who is successful professionally or socially, and who does this by bullying, pitting people against each other, and manipulation. Sometimes their manipulations aren't over, especially if they're particularly sophisticated, charming, and charismatic. Indeed, a recent study found that primary psychopaths are high in fearless dominance, which is an egoistic personal style of self-promotion and promoting one's needs, and had a better performance when they had sophisticated social skills. So these what I try to say with this is that you don't have to pay attention by the first instance. So when you know these persons, they're normally, I'll explain it like kind of like a baby. When a baby cries, what the mother does, they probably give them a candy or their milk, or probably food, or put a TV show on it when it starts crying, and then they turn it off. They take the candy, they take their milk, they turn off the TV. And what they start to do again, cry. So this way of treating, it's very addictive. So especially when we're talking about psychology. So that now that you already like heard my metaphor, let's do it like in especially like life cases. First of all, like when you're having a personal relationship, I'm talking about romance relationship. First, like I don't know, they cheat on you. And then when they cheat on you, they'll probably just like say, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. And they will swear to anything that they will change and probably give you like a lollipop. This would be, I don't know, like a promise ring. It could be something physical, it could be a promise, it could be something that really makes you happy and they know it. So this happens many times during a relationship and you keep going and falling and falling and falling over and over again. So that is because they're addicted and you don't even know it. And you're probably in a way that you're trapped. And little by little they trapped you in this mental state in which you can't get out. And why I'm talking as if they were a he. So in some studies, this is a theory, but I in my research I found out that it's probably very real. So first of all, like when we're mammals, right? So we all have this instinct. Like if something scares us, we run. If we're sad, we cry. If we are if we if our stomach starts cracking, we probably know we're hungry. And like in ancient history, we will run if we saw a lion or probably something like that. And it's exactly the same with the mothers. So we have this instinct as women to care for our children. So our mental state and our mental health is stronger because we have this necessity of taking care of the children, and this is something more instinct, more as a female figure. We're born this way, and we have this instinct to take care of our babies. So that makes us stronger to the psychopath gen, yes. And as different men don't. Men, at the contrary, they're pretty easily to manipulate. Well, to have these gen because they're like the ones that are like the ones that want to be the powerful ones, the ones to be because all this because you have this instinct to protect, but to protect what is theirs, like not in like a pretty way. And it's all this instinct to be like the I don't know, like you heard before, this would probably sound a little like ancient, but they want to be like the man, that sounds wrong, but it's true and it's something psychologists have proven. So that makes men more comfortable, no, more sorry, more likely to have psychopathy. So probably that's why women normally are in these abusive relationships. But let me be clear, women also are psychopaths or have psychopathic traits, and they're more dangerous. Why? Because they have more manipulative skills. So let's now that you have the context, I would like to introduce the questions and answer to you. And remember the purpose of this documentary slash podcast is to have like is to give some answers to the actions that many girls or probably also boys, but this especially goes to all the girls that have been in abusive relationships to give them answers of why they did this. And remember that not all people are good and not all people have good intentions. So that's why I'm trying to do this because I have dealt it with myself and I have friends I have dealt with, and as it seems, wasn't a normal thing, or they weren't just needed for love or needed for mommy or daddy. No, no, no. This is all something that has to do with psychology. So first, start with it. Are psychopaths born that way? Their psychology doesn't really know if they're born this way, but they know we know that they have this gen in which if you have a psychopath parent or a narcissistic mother or whatever, your children probably have that gen too because it shares. So let's state that first. Psychopathy isn't a disease. It's just a mental state in which you have different ways of thinking and different ways to do things and react in other ways as normal people, like not normal people will people that aren't diagnosed with psychopathy will do. So let's start again. Acquired has been a subject, and as I said, it has extensive research. While the active origins of psychology are not definitely understood, evidence suggests that there is strong genetic component to this personality disorder. So we call it a disorder because it's something out of the normal ways of thinking, out of the empathetic ways of thinking. So we know that it's not a disease, but we know that it's probably a gen that has been with us for years. But until psychology existed, we didn't knew it was that. We thought only we put many excuses throughout the time. What is the mental consequences? So first, uh, until what point? Let me first answer this one because I have it here in an order, but I would like to answer this first for you to understand better. On to what point do psychopaths have a human behavior? As we know, psychopaths don't have this empathetic way of thinking. They don't like to care of others. They just care about themselves, but not in a narcissistic way. They just need needs. They just don't have like imagine this. You have a syndrome, a Down syndrome sister brother. If you tell them you have Down syndrome, take it out of like stop having that disease, stop acting that way. How do you make them stop? They can't. It's exactly the same as psychopaths. They don't have this structure to have empathy. They don't have this structure to love. They don't have this structure to be kind, be care. No, they just have this structure with its very they have this structure with in which they rationate everything. They're just very like they all do it by the that's rationalism. So first, so sorry. And what are the differences with a human normal behavior? Psychopaths study human behavior in the sense that they're engaged in actions and interactions characteristics of human experiences. Let's say we're saying here that they're just humans. However, the distinguished feature of psychopathy lies in the aberration of their behavior compared to social norms. Psychopaths often lack genuine emotional connection, empathy, and moral compass. Their behavior tends to be manipulative, self-serving, and lacking a genuine concern or of the well-being of others. While psychopathy may mimic socially acceptable behavior to blend in, the underlying motivations and emotional responses differ significantly from those of individuals without psychopathy. So that's the first answer. And what are the types of psychopathy? Like I told you before, we're not talking about every time type of psychology. We're talking about those that are in the power, those that we can detect, those where that are very difficult to know that we're talking to. Okay, so what are the types? Psychopathy is often conceptualized as a spectrum, and different types of subtypes based on the characteristics and behavior exist. One prominent model is the Robert Harris Psychopathy Checklist Revised (PCLR), which identifies two main factors: interpersonal and affective traits, and impulsive and antisocial behavior. Psychopathy can also be categorized in primary, low anxiety, emotional shallow, and secondary, high anxiety, emotional reactive types. Additionally, some researchers propose distinction between successful and unsuccessful psychopaths, depending on their ability to integrate to society. As we said before, they are successfully and unsuccessfully. What we mean unsuccessfully, they're probably meaning about the Jeffrey Dahmer type. Now let's talk about like and the unsuccessfully. They're the ones that they're just in your life, but you don't know it. Your actions don't have to do with any of your actions. So that's weird, right? But let's continue. Um, what is their mental structure like? Why do they think that way? Their mental structure of a psychopath is characterized by distinct neurological and psychological features. Neurologically, studies using brain imaging techniques have shown differences in the structure, functioning of areas related to empathy, moral decision making, and emotional processing. Psychology traits such as lack of empathy, self-effect, and a propensity of manipulation are key components. The personal and affective deficits, as identified in the PCL area, are, as I said before, contribute to the unique mental structure of a psychopath. And it's important to note that psychopathy is a complex phenomenon with multi-phased origins. As we said before, there are many questions that haven't been answered, but now I would like to put like some personal perspective and to give like these like a sense and why I'm doing it. And I'm doing it at the end of the podcast because I, as a person that has lived with it and that thought many things were off with that person, and then knowing that actually was a psychopathy, because this is such a strong word, right? We've heard over life psychopathy, right? Psychopaths, but actually they're all around us. So that's why I chose this as my personal project. So when I was told about the personal project, I immediately thought of emotional intelligence as my project because I think this is something not many people talk about, and some others don't even know what it is. Intelligence is divided in many aspects, but for me the most important of all is an emotional intelligence because it's multiplied in any relationship with humans. But I don't mean like relationships in a romantic way or in a friendship way. I'm talking of every single one of them. I'm talking in workspaces. I'm talking in personal with yourself to know why you're thinking that way, why you're acting that way. And as a society, it's indispensable to know how to deal with people and understand how everybody thinks the same. In the psychology world, psychopaths have always been a mystery, and not so many questions have been answered. So 3 years ago, I started reading about psychology, and I was especially interested in behaviors. There is a theory about how do we think as individuals, and it relates into psychopathy. The reason I found this so interesting is that we are all humans, but there is something that connects us with others, but at the same time disconnects us from others, and that is emotions and rationalism. There's a thin line between feeling emotions and reacting towards a problem, and that's rationalism. And it's the ability to ration the reality with emotions, and that what control impulsive actions. The interesting thing is that if our brain lacks neither emotions or rationalism, the brain no longer has balance between what's good and what's bad. Psychopaths lack the ability to feel any emotions. Therefore, they don't have the ability to empathize with living creatures. If we see it from other perspective, they go straight to the point. In other words, they don't consider other people as obstacles that make them highly manipulative, cunning, and smart people. We can consider this ability to not feel emotions as something powerful and relieving, but everything in the universe has a balance, like such as mammals and carnivores, water and fire. But the balance can be easily corrupted and make chaos. And that is what happens with psychopaths in society. As I said in my research that I was playing, there are many types of psychology behaviors. The most known, as I said, the Jeffrey Dahmer one, as they like to call it, but psychologists call them bad boy. I believe for psychologists, it's easy for you to spot. After all, according to the diagnostic criteria in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, TSMA, is the archetypal trait effortless, impulsivity, and reckless discredit for mother safety, and can be linked to antisocial person disorder. And but what about those that are looking for something more cruel, like something more cruel? I'm confused. The most difficult type of psychopathy to detect is the ones that we all met, who is successful. And in my personal life, that was my dad. As I said before, I was
I dealt with it myself. And as you said, I didn't mean in a romantic relationship. I mean in a like real relationship with a person that didn't have a choice with, to have a relationship with. And when I was growing up, I always had this like questions about why was he so charming, but at the same time I was unhappy when I was with him. And then when I grew up, I started reading, and my mother did too, and we discovered that was something else. And we understand that that was his way of thinking. We couldn't change that. And that's why I love to talk about this, because it's something like really hurt me, and I wish I knew before. But if I knew before, I would just be a kid. So that's why I think that things happen this way. But as a 15-year-old, I think it's very important to know who you're dealing with, especially like in families or any type of relations, because it can really hurt you, and it can really like disconnected you from yourself. And the gaslighting in the relationship with a psychopath, it's really, really impressive. Like you can't not know until what point they're asking you to say lies, which you believe they're true, even though you know they're lies, and you say them to them because you're gaslighting them, until like you asking yourself this question: did I really did that? Because you start questioning and doing things that are right, but they tell them you're wrong, and they do things that are wrong, but they tell you they're right. So you start making this whole mess in your mind and making yourself so um uh like like you're just in this bubble in which you don't know what's good and what's right and what's going on, what's not. So that's why I chose this as my personal project. And that's why I want to give everyone self awareness, because it's very important to know your value and to know everyone has a world in their mind. And you probably don't know the